Good evening, everybody. Oh, that was very poor, wasn't it? So let's do that again. Good evening, everybody. It is wonderful to see you all in such great numbers. I'm going to start by saying a few thank yous. And the first thank you, of course, goes to our Lord. So I'd ask you just to be with me in a moment of prayer to start our evening off. Lord, we ask you to be with us. Fill this room. Fill the parents, our parents, fill our students, fill our faculty, fill our community, fill our hearts. Fill them all with your love and forgiveness. Fill them all with your love and forgiveness. Make that love and forgiveness an inclusive one that helps us remember who we are. Seoul Foreign School, a Christian school for everyone. Lord, be with us. Let that love and forgiveness be with us each day. Give us your wisdom, your support, and your guidance. And we ask you this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Okay, so it is wonderful to see you. So that the second thank you needs absolutely 100% to go to you, our parent body. I have to say a huge thank you. I've written that so many times in emails, but I want to say it to each of our sections face to face. Because I can tell you that I get to talk to the heads of all the other international schools in Seoul, in Korea, on a fairly regular basis. And I can say to you without hesitation that there isn't a community that had the same sort of support from their parent body that SFS has had over the last 2.5 years. So thank you so much. We really appreciate your patience and your support. And the final thank you is to our incredible teaching body. And they, in fairness, we do get a chance to say thank you to them because they are so important. We'll talk a little bit about them in a minute. But I do want to single out one person in particular because principals don't actually get thanked very often. And I have to say that Dr. Nancy Lenaze joined us right in the middle of the pandemic. And so probably hasn't had the chance to get to know you all in the same way that she would normally be able to do. But I can tell you we are thrilled to have her on board at SFS. She's doing an incredible job, really making the best for our high school at Seoul Foreign School. So I've got to say I'm always slightly intimidated by anybody who's got doctor at the front of their name, but she's not intimidating, even if she is a bit on the brainy side. So we are going to start, and I'm going to try and keep this nice and brief, but I did want to take the opportunity, seeing as you're all in one place, to say a few words about how we see this year panning out. So, good news. I've got the first bit done, right? So there we go. And the second part is to ask you a question. So I'm going to look for a volunteer, somebody who's going to be brave and answer. Who are the most important people in a school? I'm going to need somebody to put their hands up. Yes, somebody brave at the back. You're going to have to shout out, I'm deaf as a post. The children, thank you. Excellent answer. Wrong, but a great answer nevertheless. And of course you'll be going, what on earth? Really? The children aren't the most important people in the school? Well, I would say to you that the children are the school. And we got to learn that over the last 2.5 years, particularly during those periods where there were no children in this building. And we all know what a wonderful campus we've got and what great resources. But I can say to you, just in the way it was I'm sure it was really challenging for each and every one of you to have children at home when they should be at school. But it was very strange having a school building without any students around it. So the children, our students, your children, are the school. The thing that makes a difference in a school are the teachers. And I have to say to you, this is my 9th year at Seoul Foreign School. And that's something I said to the people who employed me at the time was the single most important thing we do is to hire the very best teachers we can and keep doing that year after year after year. And the thing is, you don't really need me to tell you that because you know. You know when you've had a great teacher. You know that because your kids are happy and being challenged and supported and guided. And when it's not so good, the school isn't quite so good, is it? We know that. So that's how important that part of our job is. It is the single most important job I do and we do, and it will continue to be that. But I have to say that the last 2.5 years have brought new challenges. And those of you who have been here with us over the last 2.5 years may remember that we sent out some questionnaires to ask what were the things that you most missed about with the pandemic being around and being part of our lives. What were the things that we needed to make sure that we brought back? What were the things that we needed to develop when we get back to some sort of normality? And 3 things jumped out as all the responses that came back, because we talked to parents, we talked to students, and we talked to faculty. And these are the 3 things: bringing back community, understanding student progression, and utilising personnel and facilities effectively. And this evening, I just want to touch upon maybe 2 or 3 things that really talk specifically to those areas that we are doing. There's going to be lots, and we did send out a document so you can have a good look at that. I'm sure you've spent time reading it carefully over the last few months. But I'm just going to pick up on a couple of things that I think are really important for us this year. The first one is about bringing back community. And one of those things is having evenings like this. It's just wonderful to have you all back here. But we have got a couple of initiatives that we are particularly excited about. And so I'm going to invite Jan-Mark Sevalt, our Assistant Head of School for Academics, who's going to talk to you a little bit about something that we are particularly excited about and that we want you to keep an eye out for. Jan-Mark.
Thank you. So I'm really excited about an initiative that we've called The Gate. We started talking and thinking about this a lot last year, and it came about because before COVID we were doing a lot of professional development for our faculty, our staff. We were running workshops for educators, inviting educators in from other schools. But that was kind of what we were doing. Then COVID hit, and all that came to a screeching halt, as many other things did. And we had some time to reflect, and we thought, we are an educational institution. We have a lot of expertise here, and we share that with other educators. But shouldn't we be sharing it with the wider community? And shouldn't learning be more than just for our students and just for our teachers? So we started developing this idea of The Gate. And really we're looking at, okay, we want to continue doing professional learning for educators, but we also want to give our parents some educational experiences that we might not have done before. So we're looking for opportunities to do that. We're looking for opportunities to have parents come back on campus and maybe experience similar sort of things that your kids are experiencing. What is it like to be in a diploma class, for instance? So look out for some of those things. If you have ideas or thoughts, please reach out to us. We're also looking at expanding some of our student events. There's an event coming up fairly soon for high school students looking at student leadership and how you can develop that. And we're also looking to work together with the whole community to develop service learning opportunities where we can all be involved in service and we can learn from that as a community and how we can develop those things. So some exciting initiatives that we're starting, that we're looking to expand. So if you have ideas or you have questions or you have thoughts on this, please reach out, thegate@seoulforeign.org. Or if you're interested, we do have more info. We have a website. It's going to be up and running publicly soon. But until that happens, you can look at the latest version of the banner. There's some hard copies here if you want to pick them up, or just Google search SFS the banner. It'll show up the electronic version. So very excited. I'm happy to be in dialogue with anybody who has some questions or has some ideas for us on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan Mark. And the truth is what we're trying to do there is maybe just change our model in terms of when we have opportunities like this, from explaining things to you rather than we want to move to exploring things with you. And the gate is just going to be a central part of that. But of course, this is what's most important, isn't it? Finding out exactly how your children, how our students are going to progress. That's at the heart of what we do. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you a pretty short video clip. And it's by somebody called Dylan William. Now, Dylan William is one of the foremost experts in terms of what we call student feedback. And student feedback is possibly the central, most important thing in terms of the quality of teaching and learning in the classroom. So I'm going to show you a little clip, and then we'll explore it a little bit afterwards.
The feedback was where we started, really, because a lot of this research on formative assessment was about different kinds of feedback. And what we found was that most of the feedback that's common in schools is the least helpful in terms of what psychologists have found. So there's lots of different ways of looking at feedback, but a very important way of thinking about feedback is whether it's ego-involving or task-involving. So if you say to students that you did very well, you were one of the best pieces of work, you did one of the best pieces of work in the class, that's ego-involving because it focuses on that person's position in the class. Whereas if you get feedback that says things like, well, this is what you need to do to improve, then that focuses on the task. And what the research shows very clearly is that ego-involving feedback is rarely effective and in fact can lower achievement. So when students get grades, when they can compare themselves with each other, where they get praise, the effects are usually, or often zero, and sometimes negative. In other words, that in many cases, rather than giving that kind of praise, you would have been better off shutting up and giving no feedback at all. Students given that kind of praise do less well than students given no feedback at all. But what the research also shows very clearly is the conditions under which feedback is successful. So the research shows, for example, that when the feedback focuses on what students need to do to improve, and in particular how to go about it, then you get very large impacts on student achievement. So the challenge for teachers is to take these very broad principles that I've outlined and work out what it means in their own classroom. The way I summarize all this is to say that I think that good feedback causes thinking. The really important thing is that when a student gets a piece of feedback, the first thing they do is think, not react emotionally, not disengage, but think. That's very important because what the research on student motivation shows is that when they're faced with a task or with a response to a piece of work, students basically make a choice between deciding either to protect their well-being or to engage in activities that will actually help them grow as individuals and in their achievement. And if the first reaction of a student is to protect themselves and to restore their sense of well-being, what you'll find is that students focus on the things that will do that for them, and they won't focus on the learning. So what we need to do is to give students feedback that helps them move forward, give them feedback that makes it clear that ability is incremental rather than fixed. Because if we send the message to students that ability is fixed, then if you're confident of being able to engage in the task, you'll go for it for the brownie points. But if you're not confident, or think that you might actually fail when other people will succeed, you will disengage, and basically you will decide that you'd rather be thought lazy than stupid.
Now, I did say that we were going to try and change our model to explore things with you rather than explain things to you. And actually, this is a video that I shared with the whole of our faculty just a couple of weeks ago. And that importance of feedback is something that's going to be really, really central to what we do, and I'll talk about that in a moment. What I would say to you is also is that we're also committed to making sure that the developments that we make at Seoul Foreign School is based on the evidence, which is what Dylan Williams is talking all about. And it's also about getting the best experts to support us with this. And so we're going to be working with Dylan Williams later in this academic year. But one thing that I have to make sure every year is that we get a little bit better each year, that we're constantly improving, because the best schools understand that complacency is not an option, that we've got to be continually getting better. And what we're going to do this year is we're going to have a whole school target, all centered around the quality of feedback. Every single teacher will have a target which we will work with and support them in to make sure that the quality of their feedback is always improving. And there's some great feedback already taking place, but I know I've spoken to high school students, and the one thing they say to me is that the best teaching and learning happens when their teachers are giving them really, really clear feedback. And we know that kids have to get grades, we know that. But it's great to get feedback that really clarifies how you get from one grade to the next. That's what we're looking for. Really mapping out clear route to make that improvement, to make that progression. So we're really excited about that over the course of this year. We'll work at every single section of the school, and that'll allow us to connect with each other and to talk specifically how we improve this central part of teaching and learning. Don't worry, I'm nearly finished. I'm just going to say one more thing, and that's about the utilization of resources. When I was appointed to this post 9 years ago, actually, 2013, we had, in the high school, we had 2 high school counsellors. And now we've got 6. Okay? And that's a big investment. That's tripling the amount of counsellors that we have in the high school alone. And the reason we do that is because we understand the central importance of 2 things. Firstly, making sure that we're doubling down our efforts, helping our students from as soon as they arrive in 9th grade to be preparing for the next stage of their educational journey, moving on to college or university. But we also recognise the incredible challenges that students have these days and the support that they need, which is why we have 2 counsellors to support them in those social, emotional aspects of living life in a highly competitive educational environment. Seoul Foreign School continues to be committed to making sure that we do the very, very best for your children, our students. Good news, I'm going to shut up and I'm going to hand over to Dr. Nazay, who's going to talk you through the rest of the evening. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. God bless. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be very quick. I'm going to mostly talk about logistics. You must be wondering what's happening next, so this is what I'm going to explain now. So we're trying a new format tonight. We have, this is a return to back to school night in person, so this is a good chance to try something a little bit new. And it's following feedback from past parents in the high school. So you should have received yesterday course overviews as well as videos. If you haven't had time to look at those, that's okay, you've got time, or you can watch them on a loop if you are so inclined. So in the videos on the course overviews, you have all the information about the classes. The course overviews are also printed and should be with each teacher in their classroom. So this evening is mostly for meeting your child's teachers, and you have 1 hour to do that. Depending on the grade of your child, it's either the next hour or the hour after that. Okay, so it should be made very clear on the sheet that you were given or that you will collect on your way out. So you will also have 1 hour. So the meet and greet is informal, right, with the teachers, but you will also have 1 hour of meetings that will have very specific targeted information about your child's grade. And that's a very important part of the evening as well. So that's a little bit of a new addition, and we will see how you enjoy it. I'm sure you will. So there'll be counselors, coordinators, and I will be there to talk to you a little bit as well. So you need to make sure you have an information form. I can see many of you have one. but the students, our wonderful NHS students, are still in the lobby, so you can collect one. It's one per family because it's important that you only have one color. Unless you have 2 children in a high school and there are 2 of you, then you can have 2 sheets. You need to follow the directions in the table about your child's grade, and I'll explain a bit more in a sec. And there will be students everywhere, here and in a high school, to guide you and to explain where the classrooms are and so on. So you will also enjoy the talks and meet your child's teachers. Now, bear in mind, it's a little bit informal, so they're not giving you a talk because they did that in the video. So this is a chance to just come in, say hello, introduce yourself, and then have a quick chat, maybe if you have a question about one of the videos or a question about the course, something like that. But it's quite informal, okay? I wanted to highlight a few things, so make sure you follow the grade of your child at the top there. That's what will tell you what your schedule looks like and what you're starting with. All the grades 9 and 10 talks will be in the MPR in the high school building, but all the grades 11 and 12 talks will be here in the LISO Center, okay? So if you are a grade 12 parent, in fact, you're going to stay right here, because you're starting with the talk and then you are going to see the teachers. If you are grade 9 and 11, you can go and see the teachers now in 2 minutes. And if you are grade 10, you're going to the MPR in the other building, in the high school building. And the students are there to help. There will be a little break so that you can change building if you must, if you're coming back here, for example. And very importantly, you have different color sheets, and this is to regulate traffic. So you don't all go on the first floor at the same time, because then you won't be able to see teachers and have the right quality of time with them. So please, 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 look at the color of your sheet and look at the instructions, and it tells you where to go first. So you are starting in different locations depending on the color of your sheet. Okay, this is why you have different colored sheets. And finally, we also have our wonderful high school parent association parents who have a new little badge on their lanyard. So if you see that, you can know that this is a person who can help you as well. So we have the students, but we also have our parent association parents who you can ask questions from, and they will be able to help you. It's 5:59, so you're going to have to run. I will stop talking, and I will see you a little bit later at your child's grade level talk. Thank you.